This episode of Capes and Lunatics is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. Get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
Me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I'm your captain, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me as always is me skinny rich friend and first mate.
It's Mozz.
Welcome, Mozz. Oh, tonight's episode, we gotta go now. Based on Season 2, Episode 5 of The Boys. Butcher has no more intentions to fight with Soups, but Black Noir traced his location and found him. What will he do now? Soups are shooting a film named #Dawn of the Seven. Homelander is doing what Stormfront told him to do. Let's see here. Our director this evening is Batan Silva. Our writing credits, of course, we got that Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson getting those based on the comic books by. And then our written by is Ellie Monahan this week. And, of course, Eric Kripke gets his developed by. This is an interesting episode. Obviously, it comes on the heels of Becca basically saying, I'm not leaving my son. And if I brought my son, you would resent him. You know, that this isn't going to work out. And you know, that leaves Butcher kind of out of sorts.
Nothing left to aim for, no goal in mind, no reason for the rage.
We also see in the last episode that, you know, Black Noir wants to know where Butcher is, which I find interesting. Although we see by the end of this who it was that wanted to know where Butcher was. Which also makes for an interesting side aspect of this entire story, which we'll get to when we get to some more on the Black Noir aspect of it. Because, as we've seen, Black Noir is the person who's in charge of cleaning up the messes. As it is, Butcher reaches out to Huey, his canary, as we know, and essentially, you know, tells him, you know, yeah, I'm out, me and Becca are good, and we're gonna go, we're gonna go to Argentina and retire and all this kind of stuff. Wish you guys the best. Which is in its own way, you know, totally sus, as the kids say, but also, you know, kind of a jerk move, which is in keeping with Butcher. So,
well, I mean, I think in his eyes, he thought he was doing the noble thing. By not putting his you know, problems on everybody else. Just finally saying, hey, I have nothing left to fight for. Why bring everybody else down? I'm going to go face whatever, and I'm just going to go disappear, not bother nobody anymore. I think that's what he was thinking.
Well, I mean, I get it, but, you know, even that, it's a martyr move. You know?
Right. And that's his flaw or whatever. But you know, I mean, I find at least that redeemable.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think, you know, as has been pointed out, you know, Eric Kripke brings a much more hopeful vibe to the boys than I think Garth Ennis ever imagined. And I don't know if Garth Ennis has ever spoken about that it's too happy, but...
No, but I feel like you need a measure of that for us to find something to root for you again. And I think that's what a lot of what this episode was, and why I liked it so much. Sort of the relationship between Huey and, well, not just Huey, but the rest of the guys, and Butcher. And how that bond is stronger than he thought, or that he wanted to believe, you know?
Yeah.
That they really did care for him, that there was some kinship, that there was some brotherhood there, and these guys did care about him. He didn't expect to because it's inconvenient for him to return the favor, but even despite his efforts, he is still a slave to that feeling as well.
Exactly. And what I find just really beautiful and in some way fascinating with the entire Butcher character is that, he felt the need to reach out. He felt the need that, not only... Because for what it's worth, they knew he was going on a suicide mission. If he never called them again, they just assumed it was a suicide mission. And he felt this need. He needs them to know he's okay, even though he's going away. And then, of course, Huey hears the squeak, and he goes to Mother's Milk and says, something's wrong. I just spoke with Butcher, and he was nice. Which is, its own delightful
Tell me everything you heard.
Exactly. And that leads, of course, to them tracking down Butcher. Now, actually, because there is a parallel story here, because there are parallel stories. This one actually opens up with, if I recall correctly, Queen Maeve. Our loud...
Brave Queen Maeve.
So brave. So brave. So marketable. And this is, this is an interesting thing. And this is, they just cast Moon Knight.
Oscar Isaac, right?
Oscar Isaac, yes. Ooh,
I'm such a big fan of his. He's such a phenomenal actor. He's going to kill that role.
He's a great actor. He's also totally cool with shipping.
What do you mean?
When people start shipping his character with people. Like, he was totally down for the John Boyega Oscar Isaac ship in Star Wars.
Uh-huh.
He was like, yeah, totally, that's cool. I'd love to see that. And the thing about it is that casting him as Moon Knight is interesting because Moon Knight has a character who is gay, or at least bisexual, which is something we'll get to about Maeve in a moment, which is Frenchie. And Frenchie, the reason he always stuck by, also Frenchie, interestingly enough, because, that's the comic book naming convention. If you're French, they call you Frenchie. So many characters from Montreal are called Frenchie. It's kind of
I used to have a friend back in the day who used to play Halo with, and he was French, and I called him Frenchie.
Yes, it's weird that is just an acceptable trope and a norm. I don't know why it is, but it is. But anyway, in context, the character of Frenchie is a gay or bisexual man who stayed by Mark Spector through all of his travails because he loved him. He had that Gaston's thing too, his sidekick too. Except of course, this was his pilot and his total BA guy, and so it makes you wonder if the decision to cast Frenchie is so that, or the decision to cast Oscar Isaacs is because they say, you know what, we want to have that gay or bisexual superhero of Frenchie, or at least superhero sidekick of Frenchie, and we're going to lean into this, and that's one of the reasons we picked Oscar Isaacs, and that's sort of what we get here with Maeve, and this idea that Vought was like, yes, we need that representation, because that's how you make bank. Disney, and this is, Disney and Warner Brothers, they're all like, dude, this is where the bank is. The bank is in progressive liberalism. It's this whole reactionary stuff. That's actually the blip on the money meter. We need to be showing, they actually had a kid with a BLM shirt in a Warner Brothers ad this week in comic books. So, wow. Yeah, it's like these corporations know where their bread is buttered on. Right. Better than any of us. And so if you want to see what the zeitgeist is in the world, and it can give you hope, it is right there in the ideas of, whatever they're doing in these comic, in whatever these corporations are embracing, that tells you that they feel comfortable enough with this stuff. They know they're not going to lose any money, and it's probably going to help them make a lot more. So in that way, Vought is totally happy to have Brave Maeve on the team, although Brave Maeve did not want to be outed, was doing this whole thing because she was protecting her girlfriend, and actually wasn't even actually gay, but is bisexual. Which her girlfriend brings up when they, and then they actually make the point, unfortunately, bisexual doesn't test as well as lesbian. So we're going with that she's a lesbian. Which is, so corporate. Such a corporate thing. But that is the story there. I think we get the
So the guys show up there at his aunt's house.
Yes. Okay. So back to the A story.
Right.
Back at the aunt's house, the aunt who we get a nice little interesting thing that's going to be called back later, where one of her neighbors says that her husband just loves her saltwater taffy. And of course, first we get Terror, who is a character from the book. That's the little dog, and we have Butcher and meeting with his Aunt Judy, and then the guys show up, and Judy makes a point that Huey is just the spitting image of Lenny. Who we are going to find out later was Butcher's little brother. Or possibly bigger brother. We don't know. We don't know who that he was. We just know that he was timid.
I got the sense that it was the little brother.
Yeah. Well, it might have been the physically little brother, but he also might have been older. We don't know exactly, but because sometimes that happens. The little brother can be the bigger brother, and but still has that little brother admiration.
Right.
For the, or it could be that, he's the bigger brother and was always trying to protect his little brother. I'm not sure if they had made it clear, but either way, that it gives us something to understand, because we also find out that Lemmy, I believe in this episode we do find out that Lemmy has passed on.
Right.
But that Lemmy was, I want to call him Lenny.
Lenny, yeah.
Lenny, yeah, it was Lenny. Although Lemmy's a real name too.
Of course.
Yes. But Lenny was like the one person who Butcher respected in its own way, that Butcher loved, and was the one person.
The only guy who could calm him down.
Exactly. And
get him to stop, running towards the rage.
Exactly. And that is a very useful thing in general. And parallels this idea that we've had, which even Butcher actually says when he calls Huey his canary, you know, that he needs this person, he needs this Lenny who can tell him, come on back.
Yeah.
Come on back, brother. You don't need to do this. And then Butcher's going to leave, and he sees Black Noir, which is interesting because you think about it, like, is it that Butcher's just that great at spotting him, or that Black Noir wanted to be seen, or just that he's in the middle of a Florida retirement community and it's very hard to hide?
I think it was just a happy accident. That's how I saw it.
It's a happy accident, yeah.
Yeah.
But it is interesting, and and I kind of feel that it's interesting because they know that he's there to kill them, but they also they call in the gas leak so that there's a big presence there, so that they can sort of strategize what they're going to do. And they wind up building these essential firebombs in Judy's house, which is neat.
Pressure cooker bombs.
Pressure cooker bomb. Yeah, but they're in a pressure cooker, but they're also like, I know that he had said you having like compressed gas canisters, So, and it's an interesting setup for that. And when they actually get into the basement and they realize that, Judy's a drug dealer. Although I do wonder if she's like selling like hard drugs, or if she is like literally just selling black market blood pressure medication, because
Oh, interesting. Huh.
because it's the American medical system, and it's like, yeah, you can get it cheaper from Canada, but you have to sort of import it and all that kind of stuff.
No, she had a certain edge about her that said she was comfortable with getting a little feisty.
Oh yeah, well it's Butcher's family,
Yeah. So I'm sure it was at least something a little illegal, a little more than prescription. So
actually, I mean that is illegal. And
right, I know, but I mean, like the stuff that would involve people that might hurt you, or that you would have to hurt to get your way.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a possibility too. I mean, it wasn't crystal meth, and it didn't seem like opioids, because that would have been kind of a sad thing too if they were just it was like, oh no, she's an opioid dealer. That would have been. Although honestly, with Frenchie, we see all kinds of drugs going into him, and
That's
so
true.
I don't know if there is as much concern about the opioid epidemic in the boys as we see it.
Right.
But moving right along.
I mean, there were 32 needles in Lockjaw, I think her name was.
Popclaw.
Yeah, there were 32 needles in her, so I mean, there's not very many places they're afraid to go.
Yeah. Although that was, and again, it was also like, it was obviously a thing, because who has 32 needles in their arm at once, and for what it's worth, any decent autopsy will tell you if someone was a first-time user or a regular user, because you can tell how old the wounds are. So that's that. But do we get? I'm trying to think here, because I was watching these today, but I'm trying to make sure I don't blend them all together. Oh, we get that A-Train is being cut from the 7 as well in this episode.
Yeah.
And they have the, and actually this is kind of cool, because it's like the first time we see a redhead actually get to be a real hardcore person in the story, where she gets to be the Vought
enforcer, so to speak.
The Vought enforcer that what's her name was? Madeline was.
Right. Are we talking about the Ashley, right? The PR.
Ashley. I was trying to see her name.
Gotcha.
Ashley. We get to see her with A-Train basically shut him down.
Yeah.
Because, he's like, I don't want to do this. Let's leave it more open-ended. And, and the director, who is already, why did I agree to work with superheroes? Well, this is like kids and dogs, It's like, why did I agree to work with these children? Because none of them are professional actors, So that's
and all of them feel a innate right to be petulant.
Yes, which most actors do. Don't get me wrong. But when they're like, yeah, well, maybe I'll just run through you, and it's like, usually actors don't like pull guns on you on set,
Right.
Yeah, but that is this poor director's life, and this is the journey he has decided to be on, and Vought's, I'm sure, paying him well for it. But yeah, I love to see Ashley basically shut him down and basically say, yeah, you do the scene, and you get your, like, look, these are your things. It gives him this really nice spin, saying, look, this is what we're going to do. We're not abandoning you, because quite frankly, the last thing they want is to have any of these soups suddenly have a grudge against Vought. Because for what it's worth, we will see next week, what having a grudge against Vought can have problems with for Vought. That, you have these people with powers, yes, but they also know things that you maybe don't want them to know. And also that could hurt Vought, because as we've seen, Vought is dealing with all of the fallout and the political shenanigans that they're dealing with right now.
Lending well to the conversation Stormfront seems to be having with Starlight's mom, when she walks up to her and says, yeah, we were just talking about how terrible it is that how angry would someone need to be for them to release this information?
Oh, yes.
Staring right at her, letting her know. Man, she's so intimidating. She's so scary.
Yeah, she is interesting in everything about her. And of course, kind of bearing the lead in this, Homelander really screws up on one of his "I'll do it myself" missions. Because again, Ashley says to Homelander, "We really need you to clear this stuff with us." Because there was a guy who apparently had wind powers, which is kind of cool, but, not against heat vision. But again, as we've seen, Homelander is so lackadaisical with this stuff. And, and what's frustrating with that is we know he doesn't have to be. We've established this before, that Homelander can have very precise use of his heat vision. So much that he can melt and warm without burning frozen breast milk, which I'm sure is its own delicate chemical composition as well.
I think with him, he's sort of struggling with these two ideas. I'm supremely powerful, and yet I'm controlled by this corporation. And he's grown up in that environment, conditioned to believe things a certain way. And his powers are butting up against his barriers, or his imposed barriers, by this outside force. And he's a child inside still, in many ways. So he's just testing these boundaries every chance he gets. And it's subconsciously, I think that's where it's coming from. He's just like, I wonder what I can get away with. And he's slowly, like a child, coming to terms with that idea more and more relative to his powers and what he's actually capable of. So every now and then, like he has that, dream sequence where he just lasers everybody off. And occasionally that impulse gets too strong and it comes out, and he just says, let me just let it happen and see what happens. And it seems like he's lackadaisical, but like he's really saying, oh, what can I get away with? Subconsciously, I think that's what's happening inside, and that's what's compelling him to do these things.
I can definitely see him in that moment feeling like, I'm stopping a supervillain. That there is collateral damage, that's something that happens.
Yeah.
And not worrying about it. Except for, but like I said, the problem for me is that it doesn't have to.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing, is like, none of this has to happen. He could actually understand with great power comes great responsibility, and then he could walk it back if he has to.
Right. They never did a good job of managing him. They never did a good job of managing his ego. They never did a good job of raising him. So they're left with this thing that, they've accidentally created, and they could have avoided a lot of it.
Yeah, exactly. As I understand it, in the comic book, there's a thing where they had like an atom bomb strapped to his back. So that's how they would control him, and they would tell him that's something that actually can destroy you. So just do as we're saying, and we're, and you did a good day. You did good today, Homelander. Sleep well. I'll probably kill you in the morning. Kind of a thing. So
I think this is much more nuanced and much more interesting. Like the psychological hold over him from his upbringing and from his raising.
Yeah. So that's good. But, after this, Ashley basically says, look, Stormfront comes to him and says, I can help you. I can show you how we manipulate media. I can show you how to fix your image, and
it's funny. It's like these are the same techniques that the church is using, interestingly enough. And that's probably where she got these from.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, between you have these competing ideas about how to work with, manipulate, and control the population. What is always, and I think, the issue for a guy like Homelander is, why do I need to control the population when I can just laser eye them?
Right.
Why do I need to, even I think,
if I could properly communicate my powers, people would fall in line. I think that's what he believes.
Well, but then again, I think goes to my other, as I said, I think he's lazy. I don't think he wants to rule the world. He doesn't want to be a supervillain. That sounds like an administrative nightmare. It's like how
he just wants to be king. He just wants to be king. He doesn't want to rule. He just wants to be king.
He wants to be the king, like the queen is the queen. He wants to be in a nice constitutional monarchy where he gets to come out and everyone applauds him.
And he can run around doing whatever he wants and nobody can say nothing.
Yeah, it's good to be the king. That's what he wants.
That's all he wants, right? He doesn't want to govern. Mm-hmm. He just wants to preside.
Yes, exactly. And we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. I think is it this episode we also get where Stormfront goes into Starlight goes into Stormfront's trailer, or is that the next episode?
Yes, goes into Stormfront's trailer because that's going to tie into next week's episode,
right?
Sage Grove, where she does see all the emails from Edgar, and it's interesting because that ties back to that talking to as she creates her idea of her mom and Adele not letting her be in superhero pageants. And that's how she knows when she sees the picture of the old lady, that must be Adele and that's her password. Which, why does someone have that easy to guess of a password in this day and age? Add a number to that thing, man. For someone that's supposed to be so internet savvy.
That's true.
Stormfront is like, I'm surprised it wasn't ABC 123.
Yeah, I guess it was just a device to move the story forward. Something like, hey, don't look over there. And I'm all right with that little bit because they could have done something more complex and it would have taken more time and. I'd rather move the story along. I did it. I'm not mad.
And maybe it's that callback to the Watchmen where, the world's smartest man's password is Ozymandias, or it's whatever the book was that's like directly across from him at the desk.
Or Spaceballs. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's the same combination as men language. Oh, Spaceballs. You taught us so much.
Indeed.
Okay. So catching back to this, we get the scene of essentially everyone hunkered down in the basement. We get a nice scene between Lemmy and not Lenny either, between Huey and Judy the grandma or the aunt.
Yeah.
And then we hear basically all the bombs that they set going off, essentially one by one, which suggests that basically Black Noir is just going in and tripping all the bombs for fun.
Interesting. I thought he was just like they did that good of a job, but it still wasn't enough.
Yeah, no, I really get, because when you hear the first one go off, you see them kind of like, okay. And then they're like, hear the next one go off. Like, oh, that isn't working, is it? And then the third one go off. Because they set it up so that however he entered, he might trigger one off. But the fact of the matter was that so maybe the first one he did accidentally trigger it off, but then he just decided to go through.
Just to scare them.
Yeah, well, or just because, like I said, I'm telling you.
That's got to build a reservoir of nerves inside a person. You hear one go off and you're like, oh, tense, did it work? And you hear it didn't work because the other one went off, but that one didn't work. And then by the time he's like, oh my God, he went through all 5 of them. We better run. That's psychological.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, that and like I said, I absolutely feel Black Noir is their Deadpool. And so I really feel that it's like, yeah, he is totally Deadpooling it. He's like, oh, you thought this would stop me or bother me in some way. No.
I see that, yeah.
You're cute. It's cute when you guys think like that. As it is, he just, they go up to fight him because they realize they have to. And they get... Actually, I'm trying to remember. Do they... Yeah, that's right, because they go up, and that's how Mother's Milk gets the Ninja Star in the chest. And Butcher basically gets his butt beat. And then Black Noir is going to go after Huey.
Well, no, he gets a call from Stan Edgar because he's been watching through the body cam, and Butcher threatens them with releasing. What was he going to release?
Oh, he was going to let everyone. He had
that
photos
Homelander
of
was
Homelander's
accused
son.
of,
Yeah,
sexual assault, and that they hid it and blah blah blah. So Stan Edgar calls him and he cuts a deal and said, "I'll let you go right now. If I catch you again, blah blah blah." But that doesn't get out or something. Or do you think the implication, how could the implication not be that he doesn't mess with them again at all, right?
Well, I think what it is, and it is a bit of a power move by both men. They're like, look, I got something that is going to be one more inconvenience to you. And really, at the end of the day, as far as Edgar's concerned, the boys are just one ant on their pile of honey. And I get the feeling that it's basically, and this is one of these things where it's like, as she was choking him, and that's the thing is that Butcher knows they're being watched by Vought. Or at least assumes it, because why would you send this loose cannon killer out without keeping track of him? And so when the call comes through, which again, very Deadpool move when Edgar calls, it's hallelujah. It's not a grim and gritty, it's on vibrate. No, he has this big, that when Edgar calls, it's this big noise because Black Noir don't care. He's got a healing factor,
Yeah.
And that's who this character is. And in this moment, Edgar's going to talk to Butcher, and they're going to talk like reasoned adults. And it's like, yeah, it goes up in the cloud and it goes out there, and everyone knows that Homelander's a rapist, and just don't kill us like you can at any time. And Edgar's like, okay, yeah, so you're gonna let that go, and you know what, we don't need to kill you then, which is, I guess at the end of the day, a positive. You know?
I mean, I guess he's thinking like, hey, I'll let you go now, but once I figure out how to negate the trap you have set, I will kill you. But right now, you can go. That's how I saw it.
Well, I get the feeling that for Edgar, again, like I say, I don't think he sees the boys as a threat.
I don't know, because at this point, like, he knows they had something to do with this story getting out, and that's what he's dealing with. So he must consider them a pretty significant threat. And he's underestimated them too many times to not be smart enough to see them for what they are at this point.
Yeah. Although at the same time, see, that's the thing. When in the last episode, again, we get a thing about Almond Joys in this. Remember Almond Joys? They've already said that they were the worst candy bar ever.
That's insane.
Exactly. Well,
it's one of my favorites.
When we get to that episode where I feel there's a conspiracy by the writers of this thing to be mean to certain kinds of candies. And I think they're going to show their hand as to why they're mean to these candies. But,
yeah, whoever wrote that piece is part of the shallow end of the gene pool is probably allergic to coconuts.
It's these nut allergy people who want to say that, no, that's just a bad kind of candy bar. Right. No, it's a delicious kind of candy bar. I'm very sorry you can't eat it, and I will always make sure that you are never exposed to these allergens. But, dude, it's delicious. I'm sorry. It's, know... It's like, if you're kosher and you say, bacon doesn't taste that good. Or vegans, when they say bacon doesn't taste that good.
Please.
Sorry. It's like, lie to yourself all you want, but don't try to sell that here. But that's okay. So then we get our codas here. We get Tara gets his new toy. Because Tara likes to, and this is something in the book that Tara has been trained to, as they say, defile on command. Because, obviously, sexual obsession from comic book writers is a weird thing that you hit sometimes. Every so often you will get these comic book writers who insist on having their sexual weirdness like just say nope, this is totally normal. So, but is it though? What is it? It's like Joss Whedon and feet, and it's like Joss Whedon is like, yeah, that's or Quentin
Tarantino and feet.
Yeah. You're not actually, yeah. It's weird, but it's just like that's not a thing for everybody. I get that you like it, and I'm not gonna kink shame it, but dude, that's not everybody, okay?
Oh, I mean, but hey, for those that are into it, for them it must be nice to have representation.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Well, no. Yes. Much like Queen Maeve, you want that representation, and I do get that, and that's why I don't mind it.
I've always appreciated it.
And women's shoes and other things. My thing is moo-moos, but nobody does moo-moos. So anyway, moving right. That's the thing. I'll explain it sometime.
It does sound an interesting road to get there.
Yes. But then, and speaking of, this is not a show for kids. We get, at the end, the Homelander Stormfront interaction, where she's not that breakable, which is a callback that comes back next episode too.
Right.
But
and it really speaks to sort of that idea of Homelander never feeling unbridled, never having that feeling of letting go truly, and that's what fascinates him so much more about Stormfront here, and those are the questions he's struggling with in the rest of his life as well.
Oh, I mean, not for nothing. I still think he's pulling back.
Yeah, absolutely. But he can never. I don't think he ever has really let go, and he's so fascinated by what would happen if he were to.
Oh yeah, because obviously, when you think about his relationship with Madeline,
right?
Obviously, he always had to be in control.
Right.
We've read the fanfic, about the super moment.
That's his baby too, right? Madeline's baby.
I don't know. I don't know if that's his baby or not.
I'd like to think it is.
I always assume it is.
Right.
But
imagine the two brothers going at it.
Yeah, well, it's and Laser Eye Baby, someday.
Yeah, two Laser Eyed.
If they ever do the Boys 2099, we're gonna get those three together in a room. It'll be great. Exactly what's going on with Madeline's baby? We know that the Madeline's baby is alive because Madeline's baby was found like miles from the house. So Homelander didn't kill the baby. So maybe it is Homelander's baby. I don't know. Except he seems to be kind of separate from it,
That is true.
So and he has this real reverse Oedipal complex. He had a real reverse Oedipal complex with it, where kind of like Bruce Banner's father, it's like, why is this baby here taking all the attention from me?
Right.
So that's interesting in its own way too. So there's a lot going on here with our characters, and it's interesting. But in this moment, we get this, smash up Vought Tower sex scene between Homelander and Stormfront, where she's like letting him burn her, and she's into it because that's her kink. And that's an interesting thing in the idea of that was actually. If you ever saw the cartoon series Drawn Together.
I have not.
Yes, but basically they have a Superman pastiche, and they had another character who really got off on using power tools on the Superman character to kind of give him pain, because that was the only way he could feel anything, because he really couldn't feel stuff except when someone was putting that massive hurt on them. And so in that way, it's like just being able to feel something again has this possible intoxication to it. So I find that interesting in the way that they play it out. But troubles are coming next episode. We'll get to that. Get to the next episode. All right, Mozz, any final thoughts on tonight's episode?
No, I think we got to it.
I think we got to it. So In the meantime, I hope you've all enjoyed listening to our show. If you haven't enjoyed listening to it, do you think it's because you're using dollar store headphones to listen to the show? I know I've done that myself. A lot of times I've gone to the dollar store, I've gotten those dollar store headphones, and they're good enough. They last about a month, and then they're completely shot, and you can't use them anymore. You go to the dollar store, you buy another one. But you know what? If you actually spend good money on a set of headphones, like you can at tweakedaudio.com, those headphones will last you a lifetime and be good and have excellent sound quality. And you can use the coupon code Southgate at checkout to actually get a discount on them, so that may be what you want to do going over to Tweaked Audio. Likewise, the great thing about the internet is you can use that same coupon code Southgate at checkout, and even though you already used it there, you can go use it over at huntakiller.com, use it for another discount over at huntakiller.com, and help Michelle Gray solve a cold case, or maybe look into this new Blair Witch case that they're running for fun. And then if none of that interests you, or if all of that interests you and you still want more to do, go down into our show notes, look at that Amazon link, click on it, go to Amazon, buy whatever the heck you want, costs you nothing, helps us out immensely. And while you're there, check out Pod Life the book. Currently both digital and paperback, and if the rumors are true, coming to audiobook in the near future.
Ooh.
Yes, that is the book written by and for the Southgate Media Group, and you can listen to it at your leisure and enjoy. Anyway, in the meantime, if anyone does any of those things, or if they just want to talk about the show, how can they find you, Mozz?
Or they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com, or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And, of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way the way our Mozz and Poz once did at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. And follow me on Twitter Mondays at 7 p.m. when I am tweeting the current season of DuckTales and the eventual return of the Disney Toon Afternooniverse. We already got Darkwing back, and there's just more coming. Yeah, so watch for it.
Dale, the Rescue Rangers?
They've introduced them in the series already, so I'm sorry?
Tailspin?
They've mentioned that basically all these things exist within this universe, and right now they're just working to get them revealed. And I am not going to be surprised if we do not find out that Shere Khan is actually the head of Fowl. But that's my own. I think that's like the end of the season reveal. We're going to get Shere Khan. Yeah, I mean,
which means we get Baloo.
We'll get Baloo. I mean, we're going to get all this stuff. They want to do it, and right now Disney is just they say, do it slow, like the MCU.
Hey, I mean, they're bringing back Animaniacs too, so I mean, woohoo!
Yeah, well, that's a whole story that we talked about this week on Super Connectivity, because Hulu, owned by Disney, is bringing back Animaniacs, and then all of a sudden HBO Max says, "Oh, we're doing Tiny Toons."
Wait a second. Tiny Toons is part of Animaniacs.
Well, Tiny Toons.
Oh, they had their own show after, right?
No, the Tiny Toons had their own show first.
Oh, really?
Tiny Toons was the Warner property that Steven Spielberg first developed.
Huh.
And then one of the characters on Tiny Toons was a character named Honey, which was a 1930s character that sort of had fallen out of favor, but that Babs Bunny just fell in love with and helped her gain her status again. And then from that, they came up with this idea of the Animaniacs, which they called the Warner Brothers. And it's just this idea that the Warner Brothers are over on Disney, a Disney property, whereas Babs and Buster are coming back to HBO Max because, man, that's the problem. They're always following Disney. But we'll see what happens. I'm not mad.
Bring back Tiny Toons.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for it. I am very excited for the Tiny Toons coming back.
Toilet to go down the hole.
Yes. I mean, I want an Elmira and the Brain crossover.
Yes.
Oh, I loved it. Did you ever see the episode where they actually do Elmira's family, the Duff family?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, her brother's a kid ninja. and her dad works at the science lab. I think it's implied that her dad actually works at Acme Labs. So,
I often put myself in Elmira's shoes when I'm hugging my dog.
Oh yes, that is such a great Warner's trope. The I will hug him and squeeze him and call him George. And which is of course a Mice and Men reference. And yes, it gets dark, but that was the joy of that entire Steven Spielbergiverse. So right now, I think Steven Spielberg is in the money seat. But you know what? I don't want to do it all here. Go to Super Connectivity. Go to the actual show, Super Connectivity. Listen to me and Phil, me, and Perich talk about this. It's just scroll up or scroll down, wherever you're getting this. It's part of the entire Capes and Lunatics family. So, in the meantime, I didn't even tell you how to follow me on Twitter.
Ooh.
You know, that's at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Ding!
Thank you, Mozz. All right, me hearties. This has been a wonderful...